to Florida Real Estate Profits, where we try to give you an unfiltered view on how to make money in Florida real estate. Here with Michael Bouchard, Guy Bouchard, we're talking about waterfront today. You know, Michael, when people think about waterfront in Florida, they typically think about the coast, but a lot of people are surprised to know there are some awesome lakes and chains of lakes in Central Florida in particular. And you grew up on one of those lakes. So talk to us about what does it look like to think about that as an investment, lakefront property. And the guy, we're going to get to you on the coast side.
I loved growing up on the lakes. There's a ton of different aspects to it. The lakes I grew up on in Claremont were actually a 13 chain of lakes, all connected with multiple restaurants. So that was a really different, exciting way to grow up. But as far as Central Florida, there are a ton of different chains, a ton of different opportunities to invest in. My broker always said they don't make any more water. So those homes, especially during the pandemic, have appreciated quicker than any other ones. So it's families that could get outside, enjoy outdoors, whether or not, instead of doing the Disney parks, they're not around people, they're actually enjoying the outdoors.
I love that line about how they don't make more waterfront. Somebody we know has said that before. Your broker will talk to us about, we know some investors who go all in on waterfront and their portfolio is somewhat nice lakefront homes, and the rental ratios may be a little bit lower on those. So the price of the home may be a lot more than what you're getting for in rent. But talk to us about, why do certain investors still like that strategy?
I believe that particular investor just liked it because of the appreciation of the homes. We saw homes appreciate very quickly over the last couple of years, but the lakefront homes appreciated twice as quickly. And they're a lot harder to find. So when you are able to get them, it is just a better opportunity as an investor to find homes on the chain of lakes or a lake in Central Florida.
Amen. So Guy, let's transition to, what thoughts do you have on waterfront? You also spent almost 30 years of your life on that chain of lakes that Michael's talking about. And the last 3 years, you've actually scooted further west to the coast in Southwest Florida. So what should people be thinking about when they're looking at coastal waterfront?
Well, first thing I would say is direct Gulf of Mexico. Obviously, we'd all love to have that, but it's unobtainable for a lot of people's budgets. So if we're talking more inland or canal front. So Florida, what they've done all around the state is, back in the day, they dug deep water canals all over southeast and southwest Florida. So Fort Lauderdale, Miami, if you look at a map, you'll see there's enormous amount of very straight, long canals. That wasn't Mother Nature. That was man that created it. They don't let them do that anymore, which is an important fact, because once it runs out, it's gone forever. So where we live in Punta Gorda, there's like 40 miles of saltwater canals, and they're running out. So I did a little analysis in Southwest Florida, and all the way from Sarasota to Fort Myers, there's very limited amounts. And if I qualify that, I would still say there's in the hundreds, but there's not thousands. So once that's gone, it's gone. And as you guys were talking about lake in Central Florida, we didn't see a huge amount of appreciation. But then once we started running out of waterfront, now we're seeing huge appreciation in Central Florida. Well, the same thing I'm anticipating. It's already happened in Sarasota and Fort Myers to the north and south of us. But here in Charlotte County, it's still very much affordable. You can get a saltwater canal home lot for in the $100,000 range in some communities. And the community that we settled in, they're probably more like starting at $300,000. But some of what I wanted to also say is it's very important that people understand what they're buying. If you're going to buy, especially saltwater, you really need to understand the twists and turns. Like, again, in my community, your value can be affected by how long it takes you to get from your boat to the harbor, and how long it takes you from your boat to get to not only to the harbor, to the Gulf. And then are you in what they call sailboat deep water, where it's a deep canal that allows a sailboat to go through with no bridges between your house and the big bodies of water. So those are some of the factors. The other factors, like in the city of Punta Gorda, we're very fortunate. They charge us in our taxes, and they maintain the seawalls, and as they need to, they replace them. So you're paying an extra, I think it just went up to $800 a year in your taxes, which sounds like a lot. But if you buy a home in Florida on a canal and you're not paying attention to your seawall condition, you may need to replace that. And you could be looking at $50,000, $75,000. I just had a friend that had a huge amount of waterfront, over 100 feet, and they put a dock in for around 100,000. I grew up on the lakes of the Midwest, and it was a very different deal there. You pulled your docks out. Here, you've got permanent cement docks, but they eventually need to be replaced. And same with the seawalls. There are alternatives to seawalls. There's riprap, which is just like stones laid on that prevents erosion. And again, there's a lot of twists and turns. So one of the most important things, if you're looking at waterfront, I would recommend to a buyer is make sure you're talking to somebody who really knows the lay of the land, that knows the market, that knows the pros and cons to the different options in the waterfront. But yeah, very obtainable here. I mean, I just looked at a home in Port Charlotte today that was under 400,000 with a pool on a canal. It needed work, but for the right person, that's an incredible buy. So we have everything from, I would say that'd be close to the bottom, all the way up to multi-million-dollar homes in this area. As you heard from the video, we lived on lakes, and a lot of people from all over the country don't understand how beautiful the lakes are in Florida and how big they are and how there's chains. In Claremont, where we spent all our time, there was a downtown that we could go to with multiple restaurants and other attractions. Here, it's in Southwest Florida, we were just having a heyday because you're unlimited. I mean, we've gone, up and down the coast, and you can go to the Keys. There's restaurants everywhere. There's entertainment. There's downtowns. It really opens the spectrum up on saltwater, but you do want to talk to somebody that really understands the implications of being on salt versus fresh, because definitely there's more maintenance and wear and tear on the saltwater. So again, my bottom line to this video is make sure you're dealing with an expert that really knows the ropes. And I've become a bit of an expert in this market, and obviously where we spent decades in Central Florida. And it doesn't have to be us, as I always say, is if you have a realtor you're working with, that's great, but make sure they know what they're talking about. When you're looking at investing, especially like short-term rental, you need to know what the trends are in the industry and where things are moving and where they're moving them from. Because unfortunately, I've seen a lot of people get a lot of bad advice and buy the wrong things. Across the board, I would highly recommend talking to somebody that really knows and speak to people that can help you achieve that goal.
That's a good word. Not all Florida was created equally in terms of investment opportunity. Not all waterfront was created equally, and there's a lot of nuance to it. So appreciate that. Good stuff, guys. We'll see you next time on the next episode.
Thank you.